Hey guys, what's going on? It is your good buddy Sam, and it's time for another exciting Maximus P tutorial. Sorry I haven't put one out in a little while. Post Mira, I'll admit it, I went on a vacation, I kicked back and relaxed, went on a camping trip up just north of Point Reyes, which was pretty cool. But I'm sure none of you care whatsoever. You're just excited about or eager to get Mira for Windows and U-Menu. Don't worry, my vacation is over. I will be slaving away to bring those things to you shortly. But in the meantime, this is going to be a cool tutorial on Mira Multitouch. If touch is the language of love, then get ready for an orgy, because we are going to be dipping all 11 fingers into the multi-touch object. So to get started, first thing we want to do is of course make a new max patch. We will be using Poly for this patch though, so what's convenient here is to make a new project rather than a new patch. I'm going to put mine in, let's see, where should I put this? Maybe into tutorials. Yes, this is perfect. I'm going to make a new project called Multitouch. Oh, that's so clever. Oh my god, I'm the most clever person on the planet. Okay, Multitouch. And it's going to need two important patches. I'm going to make, so down here, add new file, one called main. And I'll put that one over her for now, and another one called synth. And what's convenient about doing things this way is that it lets us play with the main part of our patch and the synthesizer part of our patch sort of like side by side. So it'll just speed up the process of working with poly tilde and all that good stuff. So first things first, we're going to make a Mira.frame, and Mira should connect. Look at that, it connected automatically. And a Mira.multitouch. And this multi-touch object, if we slap it down on top of our Mira.frame, then as you can see, it provides us a little outlet here that will let us get multi-touch data from our iPad. I can start glomming my fingers all over this thing, and beautiful touch data will come spilling into Max, and we can play around with it and do cool stuff with it, but more on that in just a second. First thing we need is a poly tilde object. I'm going to give it the argument synth and 11. And this will take synth because the name of our synth is synth, and 11 because we could have up to 11 voices. That's one for each finger plus one. That's how many touches the iPad gives you. And then, of course, just a gain tilde and a meter tilde and an easy DAC tilde. Drink every time I say tilde. And that is the basics of what we're going to have hooked up in our patch. So, now that we've got all this set up, what's the simplest, dumbest synthesizer we could build? How about a sawtooth wave and an envelope? So over here, we make a new saw tilde. Nice, rich, as you can see the output here, buttery goodness. That's exactly what we want, buttery goodness. An ADSR maybe, not an ADC, that's not who wanted an ADSR, DS, oh my god, ADSR. With maybe like, I don't know, a 10 millisecond attack, 10 millisecond decay, sustain of 0.8, and a release of, say, 50 milliseconds. And I'm going to multiply these together with a multiply tilde, and send the output of the ADSR also into a this poly, so that when we're not making any sound, or rather when the envelope is 0, a 0 will go to this poly, and that will turn off DSP in this part of the poly, which will save us some CPU. Send this all to an out tilde 1, so this defines an outlet for our poly that will be a an audio outlet, and also an inlet here in 1 to set our MIDI pitch, so we'll make an M to F, so we can turn MIDI into frequency and send that into our saw, and an in2, and this will control our envelope. So we send a 1 that will turn on this ADSR, and a 0 will turn it off. And that's our very simple, stupid synth. So jumping back over here into main, first thing I want to do, having changed this synth, is select, delete this poly, and then undo that change. As you can see, our poly now has 2 inlets and 1 outlet, which is pretty sweet because we added some inlets in here, and now they're appearing here in our patch. Isn't that amazing? My god, what a brilliant piece of software. Go buy it. So, okay, that's our poly. It's going down here into our gain tilde. Now we want to control it using multi-touch. So there's an abstraction that makes this much easier that's included with the Mira package called Mira, oh my god, that's completely wrong, called mira.mt.touch. And what this does is take touch data coming out of this multi-touch and split it into some useful little outlets here. So we've got the device identifier, which iPad we're talking about, the region, the 0 for touch ended, 1 for touch down, 2 for touch moved, which finger is involved, the y-coordinate and the x-coordinate. So let's say, just for the sake of argument, we want to map the x-coordinate to be the pitch, and we want the touch down, 0, 1, or 2, to turn our note off or turn our note on. So tricky thing is that each one of these, we want each one of these fingers to be mapped to a different voice. So what we want to do is send the which finger outlet here and turn that into a target 1 message. Only trouble is that if we set the velocity and then set the target, or I should say we want to set the target before we set the velocity. So we're going to throw in a swap object, connect the right inlet to the phase, so touch down, touch up, or touch moved, and the left inlet up to which finger is involved. And then now this outlet here represents which finger we're talking about. So we'll send that target message down here to our poly. And then the next thing we want to do is throw in a cell here, 0 and 2. So we want 0, which is or rather 0 and 1. 0, which is a touch down, or rather a touch up. We want to send a 0 to our poly. Oh, I guess this is all totally superfluous. We could just do a cell, no, we want a root pass 0, 1, and now this will send a 0 to our poly on a touch down and a 1 to our poly on a touch up, which will turn the note on and off. That's really cool. Look at that. Look how simple and convenient and beautiful. Finally, we want to scale here. X-coordinates go from 0 all the way on the left to 1 all the way on the right. So we'll scale 0, 1 to be 60, 72. And this is MIDI middle C to MIDI middle C plus 12, I guess. And that should be all we need. If we save this now, save our synth, turn up our gain a little bit, we should hear something when we touch down. We hear nothing. God, that's so great. Of course, because this should actually be hooked up over here to this inlet. I was a fool. Let's see if I'm no longer a fool. Cool. So there you go. We've made an incredibly annoying sound. Congratulations, we're now artists. I guess we could probably do a little bit better than that. There are a whole number of changes we could make here. One that I think would be cool is instead of making it so that the touch changes, the pitch changes as we move our finger, maybe we could make it so that it can only change. We touch down to set the pitch, but then the pitch remains constant as we move our finger around. That's pretty easy to do. All we need to do is throw in a gate here and make it so that only a touch down can set the pitch can only go through on a touch down. So right here, remember this is the 1 is going to the output of this swap outlet here is going to be a 1 for a touchdown. So let's throw in an equals 1, and this will make it so that this gate is only open whenever someone is touching down. So the output of this gate is going to be the pitch still, but it's only going to be open for a touch down. And now it should be so that we can move our finger around after the fact and it won't change the pitch. Sweet. And you may argue that's really boring, and I totally agree. We should add some after-touchy type effects to our finger. So for that, I'm going to throw in something else. Let's make it so that we have some kind of shape to our sound. Let's add some resonant filters, and let's map the velocity of each finger as it moves around to kind of the shape of the sound. So I'm going to come back to my synth here and add not 1 but 2 resonant filters that I'm going to sort of make up. resin is a resonant bandpass filter, resin tilde. It takes the argument center gain, or rather initial gain, center frequency, and Q, or tightness. I'll give these the arguments 1, 220, and say 4, and then another resin. It's going to be 1, 1620, and I don't know, 3. And what I want is a new parameter here that's going to control which one of these resonant filters I hear more. So whether I'm listening more to the lower filter or the higher filter, the balance between the two. And that will sort of correlate to the shape of the sound. So I'm going to take the output of this saw, and instead of sending it straight out, I'm going to send it to each of these resonant filters. And then I'm going to add in a new parameter here, make a new inlet in 3. And this is going to be a value that I'm going to vary between 0 and 1. And I want it so that at 0 I only hear this filter, and at 1 I only hear this filter. So that's not so hard to do. This is going to be something that I'm going to vary at audio rate. So I'm going to throw in a line tilde object and a I went all silent there for a second, and a message box here so that this will value, even if every time I send in a new value here, it'll ramp continuously to the next value. And then I want this value, I want to hear this resonant filter whenever this line is 1. So that's simply a question of multiplying the output of this resonant filter by the output of this line. Pretty straightforward. The other one, on the other hand, I want to hear whenever this line is 0. So I'm going to subtract the output of this line from 1 to sort of invert the value, and then multiply the output of this resonant filter by the output of this inverted value here to scale this resin. And then just add these two together. So basically we're cross-fading between these two resonant filters is all we're doing. I'm going to save this synth. Come back over here to our main patch, select, delete that synthesizer, and undo that change, which adds that new inlet because it causes the synth to be reloaded. And now to get the velocity of the touch, I'm going to throw in a Mira.mt.velocity abstraction, which is just like the Mira MT touch, except it gives us the velocity in X and Y out of these two outlets. Next thing I want to do is, once again, set the target given the finger that is involved. And now here, I'm not interested in the velocity in X or Y, but rather the total velocity by summing over those two components. So for that, we're just going to take the 2 norm of these two components, which is nothing more than the square root of the sum of squares of these two components. So to do that, we just do x per square root of f1 times f1 plus f2 times f2. This value I know from experience is going to be roughly between 0 and 0.2. So I'm going to scale 0.2 to be between 0 and 1. And then finally, I'm going to take this value and raise it to a power. So what am I doing here? I'm raising it to the power 0.45. And what this is going to do is add some non-linearity to the velocity value that I'm reading. So the fact of the matter is that values close to 0 for velocity are very easy to reach, and values closer to 1 are very hard to reach in a way that's non-linear. And so taking this power here makes it so that I'm preferentially treating velocity values closer to 1 so that it's easier to sort of get to the higher range of this velocity, if that makes sense. It might not, but this is just a way. Nonlinear scaling on certain values is one way to, in addition to just scaling to be from 0 to 0.2 to be between 0 and 0.1, this exponentiation, this raising the value coming out of there to a power, also shapes that range. So this first one scales the range, and this exponentiation shapes it. and that makes it easier to explore the different velocity ranges. So if I plug that straight into this now, save my patch, save my synth, it should now be so that as I move my fingers around, I can add some shape to the sound. So let's hear what that sounds like. Make that a little bit louder now. So there you go. That's how you build a very simple polyphonic synth in Max. That ending was felt kind of abrupt, didn't it? So anyway, we can add a whole bunch of more controls in here. We can go back in here and add more sophisticated stuff to our synth. There's a whole bunch of other cool Mira abstractions. Mira MT Travel is a good one. That allows you to measure for a given finger how far it's moved since you touched down. I encourage you to explore all of those, and you can do it very simply just by opening the help file for Mira Multitouch, and it will show you all the stuff you can play around with here in the Advanced tab. Yeah, an overview of sort of all the cool Mira MT objects. But in any case, that's it. Thanks for watching. I will post this patch. You'll be able to play around with it, I hope. Should be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to seeing more cool Mira videos. People have been posting a lot of really exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing even more. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. And I will see you all very shortly. Take it easy, guys.